Right, so this is the 2023 practical, so day 1. You have all your pieces cut out to the spec given by the department. So when you're in the exam, the first thing you need to do is look at your drawing, figure out what's what. So what I usually do is I label my components. So I'll say, right, this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so now it's a case of trying to match up your components, okay, or your bits and pieces with the spec from the department. So I've got all my pieces. I'm looking at this piece. I've measured and written down what it is. It's 130 wide. So I look along my drawing. I know that there is 10 mil extra on this than what's on the drawing. So here I've got a piece that's 120 by 40. This piece is 130 by 40. So that is that bottom piece. I've labeled the G here on my drawing, so I'm going to label that G. That to the side. Next piece I'm looking at, I'm going to find this C piece because it sits on top of him. So I know it's wide, it's as wide as this piece. That means it's 50 wide. So I look at my two pieces that are my two pieces that are 50 wide. This is, according to the drawing, is 134. I've got a piece that's 50 by 245. I have an extra 10 mil, so this must be it. So that's part C. I'll sit him there. I'm looking for A and B now. So A, according to the drawing, is 227. B is as wide as A. So it's 50 wide. I've only got one piece that's left here. That's 50. So that means the very long piece you have is going to have to get chopped at some point, and it's going to give me A and B. So that's going to be A plus B. Put him to the side. I've got 3 pieces left. I've got one here that's 245 long. So I'm looking for something that's around 235. Here I've got this piece, 234. That must be that one. I've labeled that F. So this is F. 2 left. I've got top piece, 36 wide. This is 36. It's 165. I'm looking for 156. So that'll do that. So that's part E. And then I've got a big tall piece that's 310 long. This fella is 300, so that must be that one. That's part D. So you can kind of set them up on the table in the position that they'll be kind of going in. So it'll kind of look like that. Okay, so I've got all my pieces. I'm pretty sure that that's the way it goes together. I've labeled them correctly. It's a case of picking one now and tackling that. So I'm going to look at the 50 mil wide pieces first. Them out of the way first. So I'm going to say part C. So we look at part C. It's this fella is the elevation, and you can see the plan of it. I know there's going to be 2 mortise tenons, a twin mortise tenon, 2 dowels, dovetail halving, and I've got a slope coming off the end there at 60 degrees according to this. Right. So because I know there's 10 millimeters extra, I can have 5 millimeters of waste from each side. So I'm kind of happy enough that this is a nice clean piece with no knots. I'm going to come in my 5 millimeters. That's going to be waste. I'm going to bring 0 to there, and I'm going to mark in my depths. So looking at my drawing, say from the end, which is the end here, I've got the thickness of this piece. So that's going to be 18 mil. So with a sharp pencil now, I'm marking my 18 mil. From there, I've got two dowels, so 40, 40, and then 40. So from there, now I don't want to move 0 on my ruler because, well, you could, but you might run the risk of not being as accurate. So I'm going to count 10, 20, 30, 40, and then I come back 2. So that's 40. So I'll go back to my 60. I know I have to take off 2. So 10, 20, 30, 40, and then come back 2. And then 10, 20, 30, 40, come back 2. So that brings me to this point here. I'm going to ignore the 8 and the 8 for a minute. I'm going to ignore that and that for the moment. Okay. Thickness of this fella is 36. So I'm actually just going to move the ruler this time. Make sure I'm nice and accurate. Everything lines up accordingly. I'm going to measure 36. Okay. Then I've got the position of that base is going to sit in there. That's 18. So look, it'll just be easier to move the ruler, but make sure everything's sharp pencil and accurate. 18 mil. Okay, and then after the 18, I should have 42 left over and then an extra 5 mil of waste. So 42, 10, 20, 30, 40, 42, and then I've got my 5 mil left over at the end. So I'm happy enough that I've got 5 mil at each end. It turned out that I didn't have 5 mil at each end. It means you've made a mistake somewhere. So I'm going to square those lines around. Now for the dowel ones here, I only really need them on the face, so I won't be squaring those ones. But the others, I will be squaring. Now as I run out of room here, I flip the tri-square so that there's a maximum amount of surface area for the tri-square. Let's skip those two. Now, if your lines don't match up as you bring them around, you've made a mistake. If you don't fix that now, it's going to cause you problems later. So I know this is the top. I'm going to have the tenons here, so I know I'm going to have lines there somewhere. So I can just mark the points, but I won't mark the lines yet. If I look at the drawing here, this is the end view. This is looking in from the back, so this is the back, this is the front. It's 10 mils, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tens. So I will mark my piece is 50, 10, 20, 30, 40. So I'm going to use the marking gauge or the mortise gauge to mark those fellas, so I'm going to leave them alone for a minute. I'll come to the slopey bit at the front, 60 degrees. So I get my sliding bevel, I get my 60-degree set square, get it at 60 degrees, tighten it, and then double check it's actually 60 degrees. Tighten it up. And it's going from the back corner, so not the very edge, but it's in the waist, which is the back corner. Mark that fella here, and when I bring it around to mark the back, I'll just flip it like that before I turn it around so I don't mark the wrong side. I'll put an X there, X, 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 and I can bring that line across to know that that's where it finishes. Got the dovetail at the back. I know that was 18 on the top side. So this is the top surface, that's the bottom. So on the top, and it's in here between the two 36 lines. So I'm measuring my 8 there. So nice and accurately, that's 18 here. And that's 10 to go back to, that's 8 there. Now, I'm not going to the edges because it says on the paper slopes of dovetail of 1 and 6. So when I'm marking part D, which is this guy, I'll come back to that and I'll mark that properly. So for the moment, I'm going to leave part C alone, come back later. I'll stick with the 50mm wide ones. I'm going to go to A and B. Now, I've got a knot here, so I want to make sure I'm paying attention to that I don't want to be trying to put those mortises through that knot. So I'll make sure that this end is part B, and ideally this area here maybe, or maybe this back section, yeah, maybe this back section instead. So start with this. This is going to be B, this is going to be A. I want 5mm waist. That's my 5mm. I know that part B, is 110mm in total, so I'll mark that. So my 0 is here in the 5mm, 110mm. I'm going to, I should have an extra bit of waist, so I'm going to leave about 6mm of waist there. I should have a 10 I could leave there, but I'm just going to make it 6. So there's an X there, that's all waist. I'm going to move 0 to that fella. So I've got 233 left. My length that I require is 227. From this point, 227, and that leaves me about 6mm waist here. So it's very important that you only leave 5 or 6mm here to account for the 5 or 6 at the very end. Part A. Okay, back to part B. I know that it is 40, then the thickness is 18, and then 52. So 0 back down here to where my waist was. Make sure you're ending on 110. I've got a 9x9 chamfer, so I can put that in now as well. But going back to the end, I've got 40, so still at 0. Measure my 40. Thickness is 18. It's very important that you get that 18 spot on, because if you made it 19, well, when you do the housing joint that's here, it'll be loose. So make sure it's exactly 18. So that's 20, and come back 2 is 18. And then from there, I'm going 52. So there's my 2. And then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That brings me to the end. So that's a handy enough one. Square those lines around. I'm going to mark that chamfer on the bottom because it's on the underside here. So I'll bring a light line to the front. Let's bring the waist around. And bring that line for the chamfer. You could mark your 9mm at the bottom, it doesn't matter. So I'm interested in that line, so that's the chamfer. My housing joint is it? So it'll be knocked off this. So I have a decision to make here now. I might keep that knot on the, I can make it on the top or the bottom, but if I'm going to be processing this, I don't want it near the knot, so I'll make sure the knot is down, or the housing joint there is at the bottom. I'll have to mark a line here later with a gauge, but at least I know I'm taking the bottom off. This is all waist, so that's X's. And so it's going that way. This is the chamfer, he's on the underside, so if something happening there and there. Measure 9mm up. 9 is there. So I'll have a 45° here. So that'll be the chamfer coming off. Measuring 9mm in this way. So that's 9 there. I'll join my angle. So that's part B. Enough done for the moment. I'll come back and mark the housing later. Part A. Part A is the longuedola. I've got double mortise here and then a mortise here. So I'd like to make the mortise here, and there's less of a chance of it splitting. You could put it at this end, that will give you more to hold, but I'll put it on this end. So another decision you could make is, there's a nice clean saw cut here, and it might be worth leaving that as a saw cut from a machine, so that this is nice and clean to go into your housing joint up here. So I might ignore that mark I made earlier and measure from right to left, making that the very top. So this is the very top. And that way I don't have to try and make this edge nice and clean later. Okay. So we'll mark that again. 227. So this time I'm going to go from the very edge of the wood. So 227. All that means is this waist is going to be wider now. Okay, so this is the top. There's your top. I need to come down to this point. It's 60 there, but I've got 9mm here. I might be better off marking from the bottom up. So that's from the bottom up 34, 18, 70, 36. So I said that this point is here now, is the bottom. So line it up. I'm going to say 34 plus 18. So 34, 18. So here, I'm just going to move instead of adding and try and be as accurate as possible. 18. After that, I got 70. 70. Then I've got 36 again. 10, 20, 30, and 6. I've got 60 plus halfway into this is 9. I should have 69 left over. I'll just double check that. Yes, I have 69 left over here, so I know that these are correct. Let's square those points around. Again, it's very important that your pencil is still sharp, because even if you're a mil or a half a mil out, it's going to cost you later on. So my mortise is going to be down there. I could mark my tens here, but I'm going to use a gauge instead. So I'm just going to write in there mortise, so I don't forget it. After that gap, I've got my mortise up here. So that is 8 in and then 10. I can mark that. So, but I have to decide which is my front and my back. So I'm going to say this is my front. Okay, so the front. That means this is the back, so I'll be measuring in here. So be nice and accurate from the back edge, which is here. I'm going to come in 8 and then 10, which is 18 in total. So I'm just going to put an X there, so that's my mortise, but I'll mark these with my gauge soon. And there's nothing happening up at the top, and that's a nice clean cut. So that's A for the moment. We'll move on to these two. So sure, we'll start with part F. Find part F. There we go. I want to make sure I have a bit sticking out at the end here. So that 5mm, I'll be coming in, make sure I come in. So that's my 5. I bring 0 to that point. Now we've got 40, 40, 40 is 120. So I've got my 18 first. So 18. I'm just going to move. I can move 0 there, or I like to bring the 100 down. Make sure it is nice and accurate. 40, 40, 40 is 120. So 100 and 120. From there, I've got 36mm. So 10, 20, 30, and 6. Then if you look up at the top of the drawing, you see you've got 45 and then 15. So this is the same because this line lines up. So go 45, then 5 and 15. And that gives me the 5mm waist at the end, which is perfect. Square all those around. So double check they all line up as you come back around. So just going to write down, because I know this is my left. So it's the left, this is my right. Okay, and this is the front. Okay, this is my 15 in, and then he joins back at an angle. And when I go over, make sure that I'm joining my angle back in this direction. That's waist. Okay, then I've got my halving joint here, or no, yeah, my halving joint. So I'll mark him with a gauge, I'll leave him alone. Over here then I've got my mortise and tenon, so this is going to be my tenon. I'll be coming in 6 and 6, so I can mark my dots for that. So in 6 here, and I'm coming in 6 here. So there'll be waist there and there and there, on the edge here, and this side. And not all of that will be waist, so I have to decide now. If we look at this drawing, the front of this is kept, the back of it is not. So I'm keeping this section here, but I'm getting rid of this back section. So I'll have a line here, so maybe that X should be at the back, and this side here, so I know I'm keeping this area. That'll make more sense soon. Right, that's part F done for the moment. We'll move on to part, we'll go to E, which is the top fella. This top one here. So come in our 5mm again. Move 0 to that point. I've got a 15, 45, so that's 5, 10, 20, 30, 40. Got 36, 10, 20, 30, 5 and 1 is 6. Got another 45, so I'm going to place my 100 there at the last point exactly. 10, 20, 30, 40 and 5. And 5 and 10 is 15. Left with 5mm at the end. Square those around. Okay, that's where I had it. It's the front. This is the left and right. Got a 15 mil or 15 mil, yeah, angle here. Mark that fella there. And this is the opposite side. Waist. Go to the other end, which is this guy. 15 mil here. Waist. 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 And this is going to be a bridal joint. So I'll be taking out this front and back, leaving a middle. I'll use a mortise gauge for that. So I can leave that alone for the moment and grab part D. So this is part D. It's going to be vertical like this. So we'll mark our waist in the end, so we'll say the bottom, top, and we'll call this the front. Mark in our 5 mil. I'm going to move 0 to there. Now I'm coming up. What have we got? From the end, got 18, 70, 36, 140, and then left with 36. So 18, 18, then 70. So 70 plus 18 is 88. I'm just going to move 0 now. So from there, 36. After the 36, we had 140. 140, double check that didn't move. 140. Then I got 36, so 10, 20, 30, and 6. Now I've got a bit less left over. I'm going to double check these measurements because it doesn't look like 5 or 6 at the end. So 18, 18, 70, 70, and that's 36. Yeah, this one is a bit extra. So this one was supposed to be 140. I'll have a half a millimeter out. Okay, that looks fine then. Square those around. Okay, back to the front now. So here I've got that dovetail again, which is 18 here. So I can do my 8 and 8 again. In 8, and from this end in 8. I might as well do it on both sides just to be safe. Okay. Then I have this fella, I'll need, that's a halving joint, so I need my marking gauge for that. And then I need the gauge for the bridle at the top. Okay, so everything else is kind of marked. So I just need the gauges now. I'll start with the easy one, marking gauge. So I have a couple of places I need to do this. So setting it to halfway, I'm going to guess halfway. So I loosened it, set it roughly halfway, tighten it. I'm going to put a pinhole in one end, turn it around, put a pinhole. If the two pinholes line up, it's halfway. If it's not, you need to split the difference between those two pins. Tighten it again, double check. Still not happy with that. Okay, that'll work. So I need it down here for this dovetail here. It's a halving, dovetail halving. So I'll say I'm coming in from the back, and then I'll be coming in from the back on the other piece. So run it up along, scratch across the top, come up from the end. Straight away, I'm going to mark where the waist is. I'm keeping the back of this, so I'm getting rid of the front of it. As you can see here from the drawing, you're getting rid of the front, keeping the back. So I have an X there, that's an X, that's an X, down the end there, X is there. Okay, I need to mark a halving here. So I mark from the back here, so I mark from the back again. So this is my back in between these two lines. So pinhole at the bottom one, move it up, light scratch. And when I turn it, I'm turning it this way. So my coming in from the same back side. Pinhole, bottom line, come up to the next one, slide it to jump into the hole. And we consult our drawing and we say on part D, I'm getting rid of the back of it. So I said that was the front, this is the back, so my X is going to be here. That's all got to go. Place it down again. I've got a bridle joint at the top. Can't use the same gauge. So I'm moving on. Did I miss a part? I missed part G. So I'll come back. I forgot about G, so we'll come back to G soon. We'll use the gauge first. Now part E is bridle joint. Skip him for the moment. This is F. F has got that fella here. So I came from the back and the other fella. So I'm going to come from the back again. So this is the opposite side of that halving joint. Okay, and if I got rid of the back the last time, I'm getting rid of the front of this fella. Okay, now still on F, got another halving here for that mortise or that tenon. So measure from the back, so cut it from the back, up there, and along there, and come up the back. So there's my scratch lines. I've already got my X's. I'll put an X up here, maybe heavy in that line. Okay, he's sorted there. That's part F, the marking gauge. This is A and B. So we'll go look at A and B. No. No. Don't need the gauge for A or B. And then this is C. Down C. I need a gauge here for this fella. So just a light scratch there. And here. So that's the depth I'm cutting to that dovetail. Anything else on C? No, the rest is a gauge, the mortise gauge. Right, we'll come back and we look at the mortise gauge. Our mortises are, we've got two different settings. We've got a bridal joint, which is 6 mil, and then we have the mortises up here, which are 10 mil. So we'll set the gauge to 6 mil first, so the needles should be fairly tight together there. We get part D and E. So this is E. We want to center the gauge, so again, roughly get it halfway. 2 pinholes in from one side, flip it around. If it goes into the same 2 holes, spot on. If not, split the difference, double check it. Happy with that. It's time to mark it, so double check on part E. Definitely have E in my hand. Okay, so I'm marking from the front. So I mark from the front in this guy. Make sure you mark from the front in the next one. So I'm getting rid of the outside, so my X's are on the outside here. Okay, so those are my lines. That's him done. The opposite of that is part D. Grab D again. We know this is the bottom because we labeled it. This is the top. I mark from the front. This is the front. So my gauge is coming in from the front. And scratch. That's the top. And then down this side. Highlight that and that. Highlight across there. And highlight him. Get rid of the inside of this guy. And my X's are on the inside. Let's hand them with the mortise. I now want to change gauges. Is there any other one now? On part A, got him. So that gauge is set to half the material width. And this gauge at the minute, so that should be, if it's 18 mil thickness, that's 9 mil. So I need to change it to 8 millimeters for this, which is that joint. Now, if you remember, I marked it earlier. This is part A. I marked the 8 in, double check that. 8, and then we had 10. So I'm going to loosen the gauge and set the gauge to that pencil mark. Tighten it and double check it. A small bit more. Okay, and mark that fella. That's that. And now I want to get the extra 10, the 18 altogether. So I'll adjust.
Tristan Curlin to reception, please. Tristan Curlin to reception.
Adjust it so you're in line with the dot that you marked. And get your second pin. Flip it over. Now, small mistake. I scratched too much off here, because if you look here, the shoulders have been taken off this. So that isn't the width of that. It's only the width of this bit. If you remember, if we look at part F, there's your F. We came in how much was it? 6 mil from each end. So over here, I need to come in 6 mil here. And from this end, I should be coming in 6 mil here. So the mortise is really only between that line and that line. And it's important that you take those across and around to the back as well. So it's this small rectangle, not the big wide one that I'm taking out. Okay. Now, anything else that needs an 18 mil on a gauge? Don't think so. Have I done part F? Have. So the other thing I want to mark is I want to change the gauge to 6 millimeters now, which is on part F, that line I marked. Double check it, and now I'm coming up along this end, across the top, down, same on the opposite side, top, down, I can heavy that. And on the end, I've already X'd that. So add the X's here and here. Okay, so that fella there needs to go into that fella. So they should line up, and they do. Okay, we'll have a look at, there's one thing I missed. It's this fella here in part B. So that's when I had him set to halfway. So I'll go back to one of my other halving joints, and I'll reset the needle to match up. Double check it. So I'm fairly sure that he's matching up with that fella from earlier. So time to get part B back out. Find B. Oh yeah, B was on A, wasn't it? So this guy here, I got my X's to indicate what my waist is. So pinhole, scratch that, flip it over, coming in from the same side. So that's the depth of the housing. Okay. So for these tenons here and for these mortises, we'll mark these at the exact same time. So we've got one of them marked out on part, which part was that? C. I marked the tens. So I changed this to match up with that dot I marked that was 10 mil in. Tighten him. So that's a tenon. So I'm going to scratch him across the top and down. I'm going to do the same thing over here because it's symmetrical. It's 10 mil in here, so why not? While he's set to 10, I'll go get part A, and and it's in between these two lines, and I'm going to scratch the 10 mil on both sides of this. Flip them. Now I can guarantee that they will match up with the other guy. So go to my 20, which is the next dot. Double check it, happy with that. Scratch that over the end. Do the same on the other side. Now, it's very important that you do this with a gauge, because you can guarantee that your mortises and tenons will match up. If you did it with pencil, there's a chance you'll be out. So mark that fella on A, this fella, do the other side. Now I'll mark the waist, so an X there, an X there, X here, and an X here. Straight away, I'll come over, I'll do the opposites, so outsides and middle, outsides and middle. Do the top as well, because that's the side you'll be looking at when you're cutting. Okay, so that is done. Now, the last thing is my dovetail. Oh, yeah, I have to mark that fella as well. So we'll do the dovetails first. So the way you do the dovetails is, if it's a slope of 1 and 6, so you can get a square piece of timber. I'm just going to use this board here. So a perpendicular line to an edge, 1 is to 6 is the same as 2 is to 12. So I'm going to measure out 120, that's 12 centimeters, and from the bottom of that line I'm going to come out 20. So that's the same as 1 is to 6, 2 is to 20. I'm going to join a slope between those two dots. That's a slope of 1 and 6. I'm going to get my sliding bevel. I'm going to go halfway with the blade, so half out one side, half out the other side. I'll match it up with that sloping line. I'll tighten down, double check it, because it will move. If you're happy, tighten them again. I can feel that moved again, so double check it. No, it's actually good. Okay, so that's now set to 1 and 6. I'll go to my parts where the tails are. So this is one of them. So I'm going to sit my sliding bevel up on my saw cut edge. And I'm going to mark the tail on both sides. And he matches up with part C. And C again, that's where he is. This is the top. My tail goes from wide to narrow. So, sorry, from narrow to wide towards the bottom. So this is the way my tails should be. And I wouldn't actually cut these until I cut out the tails on this guy, because I'd want to make sure he matched up. So I'd cut this guy, clean it up, offer it up, see if I'm okay, because I might have to adjust these lines otherwise. Get my tri-square now. That up to that line. That up to that line. Go around to the back. So that is now waist as well. Now, do I have everything done apart from G? So we'll have a check. Part C. Those holes, I've marked the lines, but I haven't marked the centers. If you look at the plan, it's in 15. So very quickly, I'll come in 15. So that's the center point. And I'm just going to run a line at the back there. If I don't drill square, I could drill a small bit from each side to force the drill to come out square. So that's the center, 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 center. Just put a circle so I know what they are. Otherwise, that is part C. Done and dusted. Part A. Part A, I've got a clean edge, mortises, a gap, got my tenon, nothing else, that's fine. Part B, housing, chamfer. Oh yeah, I've got a round fella here. He's radius 25. So this is my good edge. Come in 25. Bring that line around. Find the center. So 50, half 50 is 25. Center somewhere there. So there. Grab a compass. That'll do. Okay, so that's part B. It's finished. We've got here part D. That's marked. Bridal's marked. Dovetail is marked at the bottom. That's that done. I have here part F, F, tenon on this end, halving joint here, slope here. That's that one done. Right, leaves me a part G. G is the leg that stand at the bottom. Right, 5mm waist anyway. Move 0 in. Got 15. Now, just be careful here now. So this is 0. I've gone 15 because I've got 15 at the top. They also have 20 from the very edge at the bottom, so I have to mark 20 as well. And from that 20 at the bottom, I've got 40, 40, and 20. So 40, 40, 20. Then from this edge, I'm coming in 15. So 10 and 5 is 15. Okay. So I'm at the center one first. I don't need that at the top, I only need it at the bottom, so I'll try just do it at the bottom. Okay, at the bottom I need that 20, so I actually don't need him up there, I only need him at the bottom. And that 15, I only need him at the top. walking around. Got my waist. Got the 20, sorry, the 15 is at the top. And that right now, 15 at the top, and the 20 is at the bottom. 20 is at the bottom. That's right. Square the bottom ones across the base. Just put a tick here at this edge to know where it ends. This end, tick here. You've got 15 at the top to go across the top. Across the top, bring my waist around. Waist on this end as well. Okay, I'm coming up 12 at the bottom and joining back a slope. This is the bottom, so I'm coming up 12 in the middle. And join a slope. Do that on the inside as well, or the opposite side. So coming up 12, join as a slope. Okay, well that's waist. Got an angle cut up to the 15. Okay. Both sides. Their waist. Then at the top I've got a trench. It's 50 wide, so I'm going to go to the center line. I'll go 25 to the left, 25 to the right. Take that line across. Down a bit. Same here. Then this is 6 mil of depth. Go back and set this to 6 again. Just set it on the ruler. Double check. About 6, and scratch that line. And this is waist. Okay, there's a hole that goes in the bottom. You can mark that when I'm doing it. Otherwise, that's finished. So, I've got everything marked out now. I've got that guy, got F, D, A, B, C, and part E. Okay, all marked out. I'm ready to start cutting. Now, I spent an hour in 6 minutes doing this. Probably would have got it done in 50-ish, 55 minutes. You have to be aiming to not spend anywhere over 1 hour marking out. If you do, there's a good chance you'll run out of time. Okay, have fun.